Oh, yes, look. Today you are going to go and visit a wooden house. That's uncanny.
But even having read our horoscopes and having found ramshackle tackle, we fail to predict what we're about to see.
I think this is it. It is it. And it's not a fisherman's cottage, is it? It's quite dramatic, isn't it?
It's really dramatic, really dramatic.
House in Itzura, though built for a fisherman and his family, is hardly the cottage one might have expected. Built on a steep hillside, perched on 3 structural pedestals, this house is earthquake resistant, but also, through its clever design, manages to marry an approach to modernity with traditional Japanese craft.
This timber construction is so evident, the way the joints are expressed at the corner, the way everything sits on top of everything else and steps out like a tree. And actually, the silver birch is here, a little bit like the structure that holds up the whole of the house.
It's got huge energy, hasn't it?
It does, like you.
It whooshes up, yes, exactly. It just sort of throws itself up in the air, doesn't it?
Yeah, and actually it's very ritualistic, making an entrance.
The biggest challenge building House in Itzura was to create a stable, flat platform, not only on a steep hillside, but in an area at high risk from earthquakes. The architect's solution was to build 3 timber structures, splayed pillars set in plinths of concrete, flexible but still strong enough to support the house. The wooden box above is V-shaped. One wing contains the kitchen, dining room, living room and a master bedroom suite, and an external corridor that runs the length of the building. In the other wing, there's a hallway, an office and 4 more bedrooms. Above is a study and storage room, and at the back, a garage and workshop for the owner's fishing gear.
This is a workplace as well as a home, wrapped up in inventive timber construction.
It's like a great big firework shooting up into the sky.
I mean, this is like some extraordinary treehouse in here. I'm going in. If I don't come out, Caroline, it's been lovely. Actually, I think I'm stuck now.
No, you can't be stuck with your little 9-inch hips.
Come and have a look.
No, I won't be able to get in there, darling. There's 2 very good reasons why not. It's all built on a great big termite mound.
But actually, the underbelly of this house is one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen.
Yes, it's a lovely view from here as well. So young and agile.
Building these columns meant that every member had to be tested for its individual strength, because every new building in Japan has to be earthquake resistant.
This really does feel ceremonial, doesn't it, under this?
It's wonderful to walk under a building to enter it, and then clearly up the stairs here to the front door.
And closer up, the attention to detail really becomes clear.
It's interesting how Japanese this is, though. I mean, look at the bolts on all of these. I mean, I could talk all day about bolts, but look at them. I mean, these decorative bolt heads that run along here. Do you think they're lovely?
I do. And in?
Let's go.
Inside the house, there's a real celebration of timber, with an amazing attention to detail in elements such as this cantilevered stair.
Taking your outdoor...
Before we explore, we do what the Japanese do.
I would take a bit of time to get used to this. I'm so uncouth.
When in Rome, or Itzura.
I like that idea in Japanese homes that when you come in and you've taken your shoes off, it sort of slows you down to enter the home. And again, it's that sense of ceremony.
That's right. I mean, on one hand, it's a bit of a pain to keep taking your shoes off every time you go in and out, but somehow also it changes your rhythm.
Nice slippers.
Nice screen, isn't it lovely, that?
And into this, again, wooden living space.
Inside, the unashamed loyalty to wood continues with an almost sauna-like devotion.
But perhaps more importantly, timber is also the perfect structural material for earthquake zones.
It's not open plan. But the space isn't hemmed in by conventional walls.
I love it that it's only just wide enough to squeeze through.
Yeah. This is just a normal sized room, but brilliantly you can see through both sides. So you've got light coming in from both sides of the building.
It's quite modest, isn't it, the scale of these spaces?
It is, because from outside it looks absolutely enormous, but when you come inside, the spaces are really quite small and domestic.
Tiny fisherman's cottage.
Yeah, exactly what we thought it would be.
None of these rooms are particularly large. In Japan, it's the quality of the space rather than the quantity that's important. Internally, there's an emphasis on making the use of space as efficient as possible.
The bedrooms are tiny, hidden away inside this white piece of joinery that has everything you need, including fold-out beds.
Somewhere for the homework. I bet Japanese children actually do their homework.
Between the two external skins of the house, the architect has designed a light-filled veranda.
This space is typical of many traditional Japanese houses that would have had walkways between storm shutters and shoji screens. But it's beautifully made out of all this cedar.
Traditional paper screens have been replaced by glass. The storm shutters have become walls of windows which, in a climate of such seasonal extremes, ventilate and cool the house, as well as keeping insects out.
These fly screens are absolutely necessary in these corridors because here in Japan, the mosquitoes can be a real nuisance. But what I love about this corridor, this indoor-outdoor corridor, as it were, is that all these windows open. So you get a wonderful through draft. And then when the mosquitoes come, you shut them out.
Opening windows isn't remarkable in itself, but it becomes extraordinary when there are more than 160 of them. And the amount of windows is just the beginning.
This is a complex piece of construction on a steeply sloping site. And these columns support a very big beam that connects back to the bedrock. And then above that, there is a roof that is another beam. And between them, there's not a lot of visible structure, but cleverly in the zone of the wall is cross bracing, which effectively holds the roof up. And then there are layers of louvers which give solidity, and within those layers of louver, there are then strategically placed windows that never sit, of course, where the cross bracing is. So although they seem randomly placed, they miss all of the cross bracing. But I think cleverly the edge of the house steps back and tapers, and in a way that is like a tree. So when you look at it and you see it in this forest, it makes complete sense.
Thank you so much.
The owner of the house is Hiroshi Watanabe.
Konnichiwa.
He's always lived nearby with his family, but not on this site.
What made you decide to build a brand new house here?
やっぱりここはやっぱり先祖代々から受け継がれた土地で、やっぱり俺もそうだし、俺の息子もここにやっぱりもう代々ここに住んでいくっていう土地ですね。それが日本の風習みたいなのがありますね。やっぱり震災前5年前ぐらいにうちの嫁がうちでも建ててみっかっていうことで。その設計士さんとは知り合ったんですけど、それで震災があって実家もなくなっちゃったんで、こっちに本家として建てるようにすっかっていうことでこっちに家を建てました。
What did you ask for? What did you say you wanted of your architect?
リクエストは全くないです。ただこの辺にこの山のどこにとにかく家を建ててくれっていう話だけです。あとはもう設計士さんの頭の中で作った家だ。
The architect is Kotaro Anzai. Much of his work majors on timber construction, and consistent in all of his work is a sharp focus on material, light, and detail.
So is this a challenge for you to design and construct this house, given its complexity?
もう全部が大変でした。全部が大変で、一番大変なのはまあ平らじゃないという地面もそうですけど、やったことない、工法や、木をこういうふうに使うということを職人さんたちに説得するのがまず一番重要というか、時間がかかって、それだけで半年かかりました。
And what about the idea of these two buildings supported on tree-like structures that come out of the ground?
木がこう力が湧き出るような成長する過程をイメージして、地上からこう地面から木が、そして建物をこうホールド守ってくれるようなイメージで作ってます。
This is a region where there was a terrible tsunami very recently. How do you deal with that in construction now?
まず大きかったのは地震ですよね。で津波はここまでは来なくて足元まで来たということで高台には上げています。でただ高台に上げているだけではなくて、表面の土を剥ぎ取って硬いところに、建物とこう土、地盤ですよね。地盤を一体に均結するような、作り方をしています。
We look to our homes to protect us from the elements. For Hiroshi's family, who suffered so badly in the earthquake, home is more than a refuge.
You lost your house in the earthquake. How did that feel? And has this house helped you get over that?
その仕事もそうですし、家の方ももうぐちゃぐちゃな状態で、もうどうしようもなかったんですけど、なんとかかんとか乗り越えでいきゃなんねっていうやっぱり気持ちで、やっぱり家族で団結してなんとか立ち向かってこの家ができたっていう感じですね。
For Hiroshi and his family, this house is a fresh start and renewed hope. And this house is tailor-made, allowing both domestic life and business to flourish together.
Hi.
Hello. This is Hiroshi's workplace. It's perfect.
This is his shower room.
I love this. This is how all kitchens should be. You can just make as much mess as you like and sluice it all down.
Isn't it fantastic, in a world where people are increasingly building live-work spaces, to see a place that is actually a work-live space? So none of that kind of hiding things away or feeling one has to be kind of neat in a sort of groovy modern house. You've got to hide all the stuff that you're working with. It's there and it's beautiful.
Because those groovy modern houses are so spick and span. That's what ruins them, isn't it?
Do you have all your architectural stuff out everywhere?
I have nothing. I'm an architect. I just have... That's it.
I know that's not true.
Our next home in Japan takes us to the other side of Tokyo, to the coastal backwater of Itsukogen.
Japan's population is rapidly aging. More than a quarter are over 65, so now people are beginning to think of inventive ways of making old age something to look forward to.
The house we're going to see is far from the conventional notion of a retirement home. Its wooded hillside location has forced us to ditch the car and to find the house on foot.
This is a completely different way of entering a home for elderly people, isn't it?
It is, because we'd never, ever do this normally, would we? Because
No.
it's difficult terrain, so you'd have to concentrate hard. It would use you physically in a different way.
But it takes you on a journey, doesn't it? It takes you
Yeah.
on a journey away from the stuff of the everyday into a magical world. What do you think we'll see?
I don't know, it's very exciting, because I think the idea of treating people once they hit their later years as sentient human beings with imagination and a desire to be excited and stimulated is really important. It's as if at a certain age you're suddenly not interested in any of the beauty of life or the magic.
That's right, or you're told you're not allowed to.
See, I've never seen a place that has a roof, anything like that. It's a bit like pencils sticking up in the air, isn't it?
It is, sharpened pencils,
Yeah.
yeah.
Fairy tales can come true. It can happen to you when you're young at heart.
Jika House is an extraordinary grouping of primitive-looking teepee-like structures, echoing Japan's ancient past. It isn't just a home, though. It's also run as a cafe and community centre for the local area. Here, the owners have resisted the tendency to become more conservative in old age.
It's a romantic building. I mean, this whole journey about arriving through the woods up the path. I mean, if there was an ordinary building at the end of it, it wouldn't be worth it. So it has to be magical, mysterious, and romantic. It's a fairy tale.
It is. It's like something from Hans Christian Andersen. You almost expect there to be a little goblin or a witch living in there who, if you don't behave well, will put you in a cage and feed you until you're so fat you can't move.
But it was
Let's
interesting.
hope.
The 5 pods with their conical wooden roofs seem almost boat-like in construction. Reminiscent of a hobbit house, I wouldn't be surprised to see Bilbo Baggins inside, clipping his enormous toenails.
I mean, this little arched doorway,
Perfectly Carolyn Quentin size.
it could be made for me, couldn't
It
it?
could, yeah.
And this is a wonderful little courtyard. I mean, it's so cute, so
Yep.
pretty, with a view out to the ocean. It's really very beautiful. And I can see into what I think is, I don't know, actually, sort of, is it a dining room or a kitchen? Something.
Yeah, and all you can see is actually English tea sets. And, I mean, it's kind of more bonkers on the inside.
The word eccentric hardly does this place justice. It's just all so quirky. Sitting on this plateau in the woods, the challenge was to build an interesting home that could also be a sociable meeting place. The solution was 5 linked pods beneath conical roof forms. At its heart, the largest room contains a kitchen and workbench with enough space to welcome guests and act as the cafe. 2 pairs of rooms either side provide bedrooms, a work and preparation space, and a bathhouse at the far end.
Wow, what a beautiful room. This is the biggest room in this house, but it's still quite small, but it doesn't feel small because of the loftiness of this roof that is this conical structure. It's almost cathedral-like. And there are 30 pieces of timber that come down from the oculus and bear on this reinforced concrete external wall.
The concrete that's used for the walls throughout the house is still visible here. So you've got this wonderful industrial finish, but then cut deep in are these gorgeous arches. So when you're lying in bed, you're still very much in touch with nature.
With their teepee-like quality, the warmth of these insulated timber roofs, reminders of the natural world, and the quirky decorative touches and eclectic furniture all go to make this a cosy environment.
And here is a bath. But it's not like any bath I've ever seen before. It's like an ammonite, a shell shape made out of concrete.
With its gentle slope, it's also designed for wheelchair access.
And not only that, but this whole thing just continues with that theme of treating people with age and perhaps some disabilities with a sense of dignity, as if they still have an imagination and like to be challenged and excited.
This is an extraordinary set of spaces linked together by a series of unusual shapes, curves and angles. Chika House's structure was built in two key stages. First, the semicircular walls had to be cast in concrete before the conical roof forms could be added, which were then clad in hundreds of individual pieces of cedar. It's become softer now after a few years, and in a way, it feels magical.
Its owners are old friends, Nobuko and Sachiko, who met working together cooking bento boxes for the elderly in Tokyo. They opened their home as a cafe for the local community.
So what can I do to help? Can I help you in here?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
We are now making a soup, vegetable soup.
Vegetable soup, very
And
good.
a little bit Japanese style.
Okay.
And please, here, look at this big
Mushrooms. Never eat anything bigger than your own head.
Soon after meeting, Nobuko and Sachiko had the idea of creating a purpose-built house that would cater for their needs as they got older.
You met how long ago?
About 20 or more years before.
年ね。
20 years ago. And how did you meet?
Maybe living near close.
Oh, neighbours. So you were neighbours.
Yes.
So when did the idea come to build this house?
About 10 years before, for our senior age, I'm just worrying about loneliness, and then we are thinking, how about helping each other? Let's try.
It's a brilliant idea for you two to think, how are we going to manage?
Yes.
Having found the land, all they needed was an architect, and there's nothing like keeping it in the family.
So your son, when you bought this land, how old was he?
Maybe 12 years old or more.
But now he's grown up and he's an architect.
Yes.
How very lucky.
Asked him.
Did you say, please be an architect?
Make it for me, for a house.
Did you, when he was little, did you say, please be an architect? No. Fantastic. Well, I must ask my son that. I have a son. I'm going to say to him, please build me a house, William.
No chance. He wants to be a pro basketball player.
As an architect, building your first house is important. Building it for your mother comes with added pressure, so I need to find out why this.
She never wanted a statement. She just wanted a place where people can gather and feel at home.
You can gather and feel at home in a normal suburban Japanese house.
Yes.
This is not a normal suburban Japanese house like I've seen.
She wanted many people from many different backgrounds. So rather than like a traditional Japanese house or like a Western house, it naturally became this primitive gathering space, like the houses from the Stone Age, where people gather around the fire.
But you were really young when she asked you to do this, were you not?
I think I was still in school, and she told me about her dream, and she said that at one point in her life she was going to do it. So I always had that sense that I was going to do this mother's house. So I had to do it right. So it was a tough one.
Whose idea was it to have these wonderful shapes?
He made.
He made that choice. And what did you think when you saw it?
We both really surprised that I never imagined that such a shape.
Yeah. And were you pleased by the shape? Did you like it?
Yes.
You did like it straight away? You thought it was good?
Now we are so loved to stay here. ね、ここどう思ったって。
あ、ここ？素敵でしょ？
You got, it's okay.
At present, only Sachiko lives here. The plan is that on retirement, they'll live here together. For now, though, the cafe is a social hub and helps bring the local community together.
Why do people come here? Is it because of friends or...?
Maybe come with the friends to eat together and talking. So this very nice time to stay here.
Really nice,
So
really
I
nice.
love to hear that sounds. They are laughing or something. That I love because this space is so nice, I think.
And I bet the sound of people talking and laughing because of the dome is even more beautiful.
Yeah, I like those. Right up.
You've got a very clever son. Oh, no, don't worry, it's all right.
Every morning, every evening, ain't we got fun?
Most days the restaurant is full. A warm welcome, good company and a great three-course meal for £7 mean it's always busy. In honour of our visit, there's a British classic on the menu.
See, it's traditional, it's called shepherd's pie.
Shepherd pie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you
It's a
like shepherd's pie?
Yeah, I like shepherd pie.
Yeah, it's marvellous to see it eaten with chopsticks.
Whatever's on the menu, they're definitely getting their vitamins.
Myself, 83. She is 82.
How do you feel now coming back to this house?
I'm really happy to see that this somewhat eccentric looking thing being loved by a lot of people. Like that just amazes me, and I almost feel like I didn't screw it up.
How do you say it's a beautiful building in Japanese?
綺麗な建物。
きれい。
きれい。
きれい。きれい。きれい。
建物。
建物。
I love not quite knowing whether I'm sitting in someone's house or whether I'm sitting in a cafe.
And yet, everybody's entirely comfortable here.
And the stuff of this room is so beautiful. The surfaces, the materials, this white ceramic on this rough concrete, but also the space itself, this beautiful conical structure that floats above us.
Acoustically, it's perfect. You just hear that kind of little twitter of people laughing and talking and discussing things and enjoying their meal.
I think this could be a new model which shows us that the world of the domestic that we're familiar with is something that we need to keep with us as we get older. The reason people feel at home here is that this is like their home.
Certainly as I get older, I would love it if I felt I had an environment to go into like this, where there was a dignity and a beauty. And we should all aim for that, I think. And also get people to walk up very steep hills because it keeps you young. It's a model for the future.
I'll drink to that.
Nice tea. We do like our tea,
We do.
Don't we?
A decent cup of tea with a chum is always a recipe for happiness. And with the added ingredient of enchanting architecture, this story is destined for a happy ending.
It's like something from a fairy tale.
It's also kirena tatemono.
Hi, yes, it is a beautiful house.
We're leaving the countryside. In a nation where more than 9 out of 10 people live in cities, Japan has a reputation for some of the most interesting urban environments in the world.
So we've come west to Hiroshima, now a thriving modern city that's reinvented itself since the nuclear attack in 1945.
It's wonderful the way they've rebuilt this city, actually, isn't it?
Yeah. And of course, because it was rebuilt after the war, you can set it out on a grid. Big boulevards, tight, tall buildings. Do with the coffee, actually, couldn't you?
Gagging for a cup of coffee.
I think we have to go to a vending machine
Yes,
here.
we try a vending machine.
Whoa.
Woo, sorry.
Coffee in a can is a far cry from the elegant tea ceremony I was expecting. Laden down with groceries, at least I am, thanks Piers, we're negotiating the hectic streets of Hiroshima in search of an architectural masterpiece.
Nestling between two neighbouring blocks, at first glance this house is very unassuming. But on closer examination, you can see there's something really special going on here.
In a way, it's a cross between the two buildings either side of it, isn't it?
And isn't it pretty, like a little cube of black ice?
Very pretty. Very discreet as well. But those glazed bricks are a little bit like the tiles that every building seems to be made of around here.
But that's a much more exciting way of doing it, isn't it?
I think we need to go in.
OK, cool.
Let's go, go.
No, let's do the crossing.
So, having helped my dear old friend safely across the road, at last, peace.
It's like a decompression chamber.
Yes.
Suddenly the city's behind.
Yes. And we're inside a golden black, beautiful container. A moment ago, we were in the middle of Hiroshima, in the bustling city. But where are we now?
Here, the architect's challenge was to create a sanctuary for the family, right here in the heart of dynamic, high-octane downtown Hiroshima. At street level, behind a full-width garage, is a self-contained apartment with sunken courtyard. The main family space, an open-plan living, dining and kitchen area are on the first floor. Bedrooms and bathrooms are up above. Like many urban terraced houses with outdoor spaces front and back, this building has a courtyard at the rear and an exquisitely planted garden in the front, behind a 9-metre-high veil of handmade glass bricks, elevating this ordinary inner-city terrace into a thing of breathtaking beauty.
These cast glass blocks are fantastic. I mean, silvery, scale-like bits of glass that keep the city at bay.
I bet it changes day and night all the time. The colours must be amazing. Sunsets, sunrise, the traffic at night. I mean, ever-changing screen of glass.
But from outside, it's quite blank, it's quite mute, and it doesn't give away its secrets until you come in at the same time. So you don't quite know what's behind here, if there is anything behind here, or how different it is from the buildings either side, of which this is the love child.
Yes, exactly. What an exciting love child it is.
This atmosphere is mind-blowing. I mean, it's kind of infinitely special. Everything is very pared back, very simple, very orthogonal, and yet the space feels profound.
I totally agree with you. It's just, I don't really know what orthogonal means.
Orthogonal just means that everything is 90 degrees perpendicular to everything else, you know. Everything is square on.
It may be orthogonal, Mr. Taylor, but it's also zen. A tranquil, meditative space, the perfect place to consider the beautifully simple and the simply beautiful.
It's one of the few houses I've been in that doesn't have a view out, and yet we don't feel claustrophobic, do we? We're sort of held in this reverie by these two courtyards and the subtle and clever manipulation of light.
And through the trees, through the maples, you know, that glass screen turns into an abstract work of art. It's impossible to tell what's passing. One moment, trams and the cars are storm clouds. The next moment, it could be just a silver river of light. There's no way of knowing, actually, what those things are. They just become...
abstracted.
Abstracted and kind of beautiful.
All of the living spaces, including the upstairs bedrooms that look onto the courtyard below, are filled with light that filters through the glass blocks and the trees. But there's also natural light right in the centre of the house.
This is the middle of the house, which should be the darkest bit, and it's painted dark grey. But it's lit from above by this huge roof light that brings the light right the way down through the house.
The architect has also experimented with skylights, and this one in the floor of the courtyard doubles up as a glass-bottomed pool that sends dapple light into the hallway below.
At the front of the house, where the big, important spaces look onto those big, important courtyards, at the back, these small, intimate spaces look onto small, intimate courtyards.
In a place where land is in short supply, giving up valuable living space to create gardens may seem like an indulgence.
But here in the city, the hot summers are even hotter. So the value of a garden like this is really something quite special. And then this curtain replaces what would have been a wind chime and tells you that the breeze is coming.
The courtyard at the front is beautiful, but the three outdoor spaces at the back of the house play a crucial role of introducing light and nature into the other areas.
Oh, there you are. Hello.
Hello, you brought me some food.
I have.
I'll have that in a minute.
What are you up to, darling?
Well, just sort of been wondering about how this house works, because at the front of this house are all the big, grand, you know, living spaces, etc., etc. But at the back, all around here, are all these little intimate spaces, and they look into this courtyard, and they have a very different quality than the big, grand spaces that exist out the front.
And the Japanese, it strikes me, are absolutely brilliant at the edit. They seem to edit life so beautifully. They take away the extraneous and they leave you with what is beautiful. And I think it's a sensibility that I'm just so enjoying. And this house seems to me to be a prime example of that. I don't know what sauce that is, darling. I couldn't read it. It might have chilli in it, I think.
Sorry.
Oh, no, it's a little sprinkly thing.
I think it is raw chilli.
You'll enjoy that.
Paring ideas down to bare essentials may seem simple, but the architect took a huge risk here. There was no real way of knowing how the 6,000 bespoke bricks would work as an entire wall.
This is a beautiful piece of glass by anyone's standards, but it's made from borosilicate, which is optical glass, and that means it has exceptionally high levels of transparency, and it just sings with light.
The architect for this 13-ton wall was Hiroshi Nakamura. He's well known for some lauded buildings, including chapels and cemeteries, where a sense of reflection and contemplation is paramount.
There's a curious translation here of things that many people would consider to be ugly, you know, passing cars, traffic, buses, trams, into things of sublime beauty.
そうですね。僕は都市ただそうですね。都市っていうのはすごくうるさくて創造しいものだから、それを否定しようと思ってその空間からシャットアウトしようとしたわけではなくて、光だったり車の行き交う動きだったり、そういうものを取り入れながらも自分にとって心地いい環境を作ろうとするっていう、つまりその。
But it's also a real shrine to beauty and silence.
やっぱり静寂さっていうのは実はただ静けさがあるから人は静寂さを感じるんじゃなくて、創造しさっていうものがあるはずなのに音がしないっていうところで初めて静けさを感じるんですけど、まあそういう意味でこの空間の中にすごく視覚的に車が行き交うそういうビジーな状態がありながら音がしないっていう意味で僕は静けさっていうのは生まれると思うんですね。
There's also an atmosphere within here that is very rich and interesting in that a lot of the textures and tones are quite dark.
日本の家ってのはもともとすごく暗いものなんですね。 で暗いからこそ外の庭が美しく見えたり外の光が美しく見えるっていうような効果があると僕はこれを大事にしているんですね。
This profound serenity would be remarkable anywhere, but to find it amidst the frantic bustle of 21st century city life, just beyond the front door, makes this an extraordinary home.
Oh, gosh, chilly and dark.
Ooh.
Our final destination is on Etajima, one of Japan's 7,000 islands, with its stunning coastline of coves and secluded marinas that surround the inland sea.
This is so pretty.
It's always important to maintain standards and travel in style.
I love it when they pick us up by boat.
Especially a speedboat.
Yeah.
Hang on, that's a hot tub. I think you brought the wrong boat.
Hello, are you for Piers and Caroline's?
Hello.
Piers and Caroline. Gosh, this is, it's not at all what...
Not quite what we were expecting.
No, not quite. Thank you.
Hope no one sees us on this.
OK, it's not what we're used to, but fortunately our destination is moments away. Proud boat and homeowner Mr Harigami is there to meet us.
Konnichiwa, Mr Harigami.
If the floating paddling pool is anything to go by...
Oh, I've got all wobbly. I've lost my sea legs.
This place is going to be more than a little eccentric. Glass House for a Diver is a diamond in the rough. Concrete cubes surround a sophisticated home made almost entirely of glass. On this exquisite stretch of coast, it makes the most of the wonderful ocean views. Mr Harigami has let us discover the place for ourselves. The first thing I notice is a load of old blocks. I said blocks.
They look like they're just left on a building site, don't they?
But they also have the quality of an ancient prehistoric landscape. I mean, this is like Stonehenge or something.
This is quite ugly. It's just like a pile of old concrete, really, on the outside.
I think architecture suffers from being the art that everybody expects to always be good-looking. And it's like saying all plays should be happy rather than vehicles to explore feelings. And this is a story about a coastal landscape. It's telling us a story that doesn't need to be good-looking in a straightforward way. I think, actually, in its ugliness, this is a beautiful building.
Perhaps not attractive in themselves, these blocks hide an inner beauty.
Look, I found an entirely different perspective on this house.
I mean, this is tough, weeds growing up against it, but inside...
There's a Fifth Avenue New York apartment. It's hilarious. Also, it's a New York apartment with the most spectacular view of the sea.
Besides having a great outlook, what makes this house really special is the contrast between the two extremes of the delicate, light-filled, glassy interior and the rough and heavy industrial concrete that's used externally.
The owner wanted a view of the water from every room in the house. Quite an architectural challenge. Glass House for a Diver is a jigsaw of 4 glass rooms. There's a kitchen diner, a large living room, a unique tea room that doubles as a bedroom, and a detached bathroom. The entire house is enclosed in a shell of seemingly random concrete blocks that provide privacy and hold up the roof.
And there it is. A beautiful little glass box inside a not-so-beautiful concrete box.
I think this is a thoroughfare. You know, you imagine it's summertime, this is really sociable. Your friends, the neighbours will be popping up and down. You know, you'd be there having whatever you'd have at sundown.
gin and tonic. I like it because it's not big, but it is clever. When you said this was a sociable house and that was a thoroughfare, I didn't know quite what that meant.
A loo with a view.
This house makes the most of the views of the ocean and feels expansive, despite being relatively small. It's just the size of a modest apartment.
There is a real archetype in coastal houses of the beach shack, and they're really hard things to do because usually they're thrown together in an informal, impromptu way and they are adapted over years. And this really does feel like a 21st century beach shack.
Quite a smart beach shack. Polished marble floors, Italian designer furniture. It does have an outside loo, I suppose. But for all its modernity and European influences, it does have the simplicity of a fishing hut.
Although this is just a simple beach house, it's very sophisticated and very Japanese. All these spaces, although they're very simple glass boxes, are separated from each other in the way that the Japanese traditional house would be separated by the use of paper screens. And I like the fact that it nods to its past, and yet it's very much a contemporary building.
In addition to providing fantastic views, the glass allows you to appreciate all of the constructional details which are displayed in an almost decorative and elemental way.
This is a house where all of the spaces are separated, but the construction is also pulled apart, defined, and it is in itself a lesson in the elements of construction. You can read what's in compression, you can read what's in tension, you can read which bits span, and you can also read what keeps the weather out. That's really unusual in a little house like this.
The lightweight aluminium roof spans 12 metres from one concrete wall to the other. The long supporting steel beams mean there's no need to have supporting columns internally, allowing clear expanses of glazing.
As we've discovered on our journey, the Japanese use great skill mixing modernity with tradition.
Now, this is a bit of an unexpected treat in this very modern house to find this a tatami room. So here we've got the shoji screen, which is made of paper, and the wonderful quality of the light through these screens is completely beguiling. But of course, in this house, it's a bit unusual because they open up to reveal lumps of concrete. So again, it's the juxtaposition of the traditional Japanese, the golden glow of the tatami against the grey austerity of the modern concrete.
The blocks do much more than hold up the roof. They prevent this home from being one big goldfish bowl. Inside, rooms are screened off from each other in different ways. It's not all shoji screens.
So that's how you get some privacy.
And for one's more private moments, the glass bathroom is opaque. It's almost private.
There's nothing we don't know about each other.
There have been some brave choices here. Owner Mr. Harigami came here nearly 40 years ago when he married. He loved the place so much, he built his company of commercial divers here, and he spent his life working the sea ever since.
昔から海が好きなんですけど、本とか写真とかね、海のもんを転んで見たり読んだりしましたね。
Is it true that you like Ernest Hemingway?
好きですね。特に老人と海とか。老人でも最後はああいう大きな仕事をしたり、そういうところに感動しましたね。
Mr. Harigami is retired, but building a new home here is a way to continue his love affair with the sea.
What did you ask your architect for? What sort of house did you say you wanted?
普通に好きなようにやってください。
That's very trusting.
The architect who was given this free rein was Tetsuya Nakazono.
最初にイメージしたのはアリの巣をイメージしました。アリの住処も一つ一つこう部屋が区切られてるんですけど、空間としては一体化になっていると。
And so what did Mr. Harigami make of his ant's nest?
もうそれは素晴らしいと、それで行こうというふうなことを一言言われました。
いや、まあ見てもあんまりわからなかったからいいですよ。
Wow, that's like the perfect client.
そうですね。そういう経験は多分最初で最後かもしれませんし、初めての経験でした。
Mr. Harigami's confidence and trust in his architect was important, and it meant that he was open to using different materials in an unusual way, even using blocks of waste concrete from a nearby cement factory.
第二の自然を使った、建築物として作りたかったと。それが一番大きな狙いでしたね。樹木とか植物とかと同じような、意味合いを持っているブロックだなと思いました。これは意識的に作っているのではなくて、この江田島っていう環境が、このコンクリートブロックを作っていると。
まともに買えば、2トンありますからね、2万円とか3万円だから長い時間これで余ったのができるまで時間は要しましたね。
Once the fundamental principles of the project were resolved,